Friday, 7 p.m. You're sitting in your car after finishing a 10-hour day. You've been going nonstop since 9 a.m. Your boss's emails, endless meetings, and you even ate lunch as a sandwich at your desk. Before heading home, you stop by Target for a quick run. I'm just going to buy milk. 45 minutes later, you're standing at the checkout. In your cart, a gallon of milk and a new candle set, a cute mug, some cushion covers on sale, a skincare set, and a storage basket that you'll probably need later. 187 hours. As you swipe your credit card, you think this week was really hard. I deserve at least this much. Sound familiar? My name is Dean. I'm someone who spends way too much time thinking about the real reasons people spend money. And today, we need to talk about the real name of what you call a little reward. It's emotional spending. And this isn't self-care. It's a scam. There's a term for it, emotional spending. The definition is simple purchases triggered by emotion, not logic. But behind that dry definition are very specific emotions that millions of Americans experience. Today was so hard. I worked so hard this month. I should get myself something nice. These lines familiar, right? According to a survey published by LendingTree in June 2025, 63% of Americans admitted that emotions influence their purchasing decisions. Among people earning $100,000 a year, that number jumps to 72%. There's an even more shocking number. 74% of emotional spenders said it led them to overspend. And 43% said emotional spending put them into debt. We call it retail therapy. Shopping as therapy, what a romantic phrase. But a more accurate way to describe what's happening is a dopamine loop. When your brain is stressed, it looks for a reward. Shopping is one of the easiest rewards to access. The moment you hit buy, dopamine gets released. You feel good. 15 minutes later, that feeling is gone. And when the next stress hits, your brain remembers the same solution. That's the loop. Let's pause for a moment and look at the neuroscience. A Stanford neuroscience research team observed shoppers' brains using fMRI. What they found is interesting. The biggest dopamine spike didn't happen when people actually bought the item. Dopamine starts releasing when you look at the item and when you consider buying it. Susan Albers, a psychologist at the Cleveland Clinic, explains it like this. Many people think dopamine is only released when you actually buy something, but it starts before you even leave the house. Just anticipating all the possibilities releases feel-good hormones. In other words, simply adding items to an online cart is already rewarding your brain. But here's the real problem. According to research by University of Michigan consumer behavior expert Professor Scott Rick, the key reason shopping improves mood is the sense of control. When we feel sad or stressed, life feels out of control, like we're being pushed around by outside forces. Shopping gives you a space where you can decide, I want this, I don't want that. That moment of decision restores a sense of control and helps you bounce back from sadness quickly. The problem is that sense of control is an illusion. What you're controlling is what to buy. What you're not controlling is why you're buying. All right, now for my favorite part, math time. According to a 2025 study, the average American spends $282 per month on impulse purchases. It fell from $314 in 2022 to $151 in 2023, then rebounded. That's about $65 a week. You might think, $65? That's not a big deal. Let's do the math. $65 a week x 52 weeks, $380 a year. If you invest $3,880 for 30 years at an average 10% S&P 500 return, $590,000, yes, nearly $600,000. But Dean, I don't spend that much. Really? According to a 2025 Capital One shopping survey, 54% of U.S. consumers have made an impulse purchase of $100 or more, and 1 in 5 has impulsively spent $1,000 or more. Here's an even scarier number. 73% of Americans admit most of their purchases are spontaneous, and 32% said impulse buying forced them to delay major financial goals, buying a home, saving for retirement, paying off student loans, things like that. Now let's talk about credit cards. As of Q3 2025, total U.S. credit card debt is $133 trillion. That's the highest level since the New York Fed began tracking it in 1999. According to a LendingTree analysis, the average debt among cardholders carrying balances is $7,186. And according to a Bankrate survey from January 2026, 47% of U.S. credit card holders carry a balance month to month. That's not much different from 48% in 2024, and it's up 8 points from 39% in 2021. Even darker, 61% of Americans with credit card debt have been in debt for over a year, and 1 in 5 debt holders, 22%, think they'll never be able to pay it off. Let me introduce Jessica. She's 29, a marketing manager in Austin, Texas, making $72,000 a year. Not bad, right? It's above the national average. Let's look inside 1 month of Jessica's life. Monday, 7 meetings. No time for lunch. After work, she orders a $28 dinner on DoorDash. Because today was so hard. Wednesday, project deadline stress. She opens Amazon during lunch, adds $67 worth of necessary items to her cart, and checks out. Arrives the next day. Friday celebrating surviving the week. Happy hour with friends, $45 on drinks. Then Target on the way home. Spends $89. Because it's the weekend. Sunday feeling anxious while preparing for the week ahead. Some mood-boosting online shopping. $52 for skincare on sale. Total $281 in reward spending this week. Over $100 a month. From Jessica's $72,000 salary, her after-tax monthly income is about $4,800. $100 is 23% of her monthly income. And every month, Jessica says she doesn't know why she can't save. It doesn't feel like I spend that much. Jessica is a fictional character, but the pattern is very real. According to a 2025 Credit Karma survey, 58% of Gen Z and 52% of millennials consider themselves emotional spenders. And among them, 56% Gen Z and 52% millennials experience regret after emotional spending. You feel good while buying, regret it afterward. That regret becomes stress, and you buy again to relieve the stress. A perfect loop. Let me describe what it feels like to be trapped in this loop. Every month your paycheck comes in, and every month you don't know exactly where the money went. You don't remember making any big purchases. You didn't buy luxury goods. You didn't go on a trip. It just disappeared. Every time you open your banking app, there's a little anxiety, am I okay this month? And the moment you feel that anxiety, your brain whispers, buy one small thing and you'll feel better. That's the true cruelty of emotional spending. It doesn't solve the problem. It amplifies the very emotion that created the problem. I want to pause here. I'm not here to blame you. Emotional spending isn't a personal willpower problem. It's a system problem. First, let's talk about work. According to the AFLAC Workforces Report from October 2025, 72% of U.S. workers experience moderate to very high workplace stress. That's the highest level in 6 years. Gen Z has now surpassed millennials as the most burned-out generation. 74% of Gen Z report at least a moderate level of burnout, compared to 66% of millennials. According to a November 2025 Eagle Hill Consulting survey, 55% of U.S. workers are currently burned out. A modern health study cited by Forbes puts that number as high as 66%. Mercer's Global Talent Trends report is even more shocking. 82% of employees are at risk of burnout in 2025. People are exhausted, truly exhausted. And to exhausted people, what do companies sell? Self-care, little luxuries. You deserve it. This is marketing. And this marketing is a multi-billion-dollar industry. According to an analysis published in Marketing Intelligence and Planning in 2024, fast-tempo, high-volume music in stores increases impulse buying, while slow-tempo, low-volume music increases impulse control. Everything in a store is designed to make you buy more lighting, layout, music, scent, and those little things near the checkout. And online, it's worse. According to 2025 data, 40% of online spending is impulse buying. Buy now buttons, limited time sales, personalized recommendations. Everything is designed to target your dopamine system. The system exhausts you, then takes your money by calling the exhaustion treatment. That's a scam. At this point, some of you might be thinking, but don't I need to spend on myself sometimes? Of course, I agree. The problem is when it stops being sometimes and becomes a habit. According to LendingTree, 42% of Americans treat themselves at least once a month, and 21% make a non-essential purchase at least once a week. Sometimes is not once a week. I need stress relief. Yes, stress relief is necessary. But does shopping actually relieve stress? What psychology research consistently shows is this: shopping is avoidance coping. It's not solving the problem, it's running from it. Taiki Kondo, a psychology professor at De Anza College, explains, people use two types of coping. Active coping, which tries to solve the problem, and avoidance coping, which runs away from it. Avoidance coping can be okay sometimes, but eventually you have to face the problem. Shopping doesn't solve the problem. It just helps you forget it for 15 minutes. What's the big deal about $50? $50 by itself isn't a big deal. But $50, $50 weeks, x 30 years, x compound interest is a very big deal. And more importantly, that $50 doesn't solve any problem. The source of the stress is still there. You're just living with the same stress minus $50. Let's sum it up. Emotional spending isn't a willpower issue. It's a behavior pattern built by the system, and it needs a systemic approach to fix it. I'll give you 3 strategies. First, the emotional receipt. Before you spend, write down 3 things. What am I feeling right now? Does this purchase solve that feeling? Will I still want this in 24 hours? I call this an emotional receipt. A real receipt tells you what you bought. An emotional receipt tells you why you bought it. Most emotional spending urges disappear within 24 hours. According to LendingTree, 69% of emotional spenders experience regret. So you move that regret from after the purchase to before the purchase. Second, calculate your real hourly wage. Let's assume your hourly wage is $30, but that's not your real hourly wage. Commute time, lunchtime, clothes and gear for work, spending to relieve stress. When you factor all that in, your real hourly wage drops to around $15, $20. A $50 impulse buy is 2.53 hours of your life. That $187 Target cart filled with things that might be useful is 12 hours of your life. The moment you convert it into time, the math changes. Third, a reward budget. This is my favorite strategy. Don't try to eliminate emotional spending completely. It's unrealistic. Instead, pre-allocate 5% of your monthly income as a reward budget. If your monthly income is $4,000, that's $200. This $200 has no rules. Spend it however you want. Emotional spending, impulse buys money you can spend with zero guilt. But if you go over that $200, then you have to write an emotional receipt. The core of this system is freedom within limits. Total deprivation fails, just like diets fail. Humans can't endure absolute restrictions, but freedom with boundaries is sustainable. Let's wrap up. When you're struggling, wanting a small luxury for yourself is completely natural. Your brain is designed that way. But here's the real question. Is that reward actually rewarding you? Painkillers don't remove the pain. They just stop you from feeling it. Emotional spending works the same way. It doesn't remove the stress. It just makes you not feel the stress for 15 minutes. A real reward is different. A real reward is something that still makes you happy 6 months from now. Something that makes you think, a year later, I'm glad I made that decision. It could be savings. It could be investing. It could be an experience. It could be relationships. Whatever it is, it's definitely not swiping $187 at the Target checkout. Starting today, do just one thing. Before you open your wallet next time, ask yourself, is this a reward or a painkiller? That single question could change your financial life 30 years from now. The choice is yours.